don't think that they've been battling that we've missed here on screen.
Oh, Hisada wide.
Hisada, can he make the corner? Somehow he does. How did he get back on there? That could not have been any closer. 0 as they cross the line, and now they start to scatter. They know it's for real this time, and I think that's Adams Jr., who's got a good shot, and he goes up the middle, 3 wide into Laguna. Is he going to be able to take the lead? Yes, he's got it. And coming down into the second one. Yep, there it is. I was going to say, he's mighty close. Hisada sees it coming. Is he going to try and cut back? He's going to use the wider exit to actually get a good launch and take the inside. Coming down into Hans Ernst. Could he fight back? He doesn't have the nose ahead of him. There goes Jim Shedlick, who goes a little wide, banking now the other way. Hisada fights back, and coming down into Kumho, Hisada somehow is back into the lead.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
As part of the base content on iRacing, Laguna Seca is a track almost every road racer is extremely familiar with. It's hard to find an edge here unless you've spent countless hours practicing this tricky circuit. Will we see someone make a step above the rest because of that today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. When it comes to American circuits with notoriety and clout, Laguna Seca is among the most famous. Let's head to our track guide to find out what sets it apart. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey Historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Well, DJ, this is a track probably more closely associated with IndyCar rather than F1, but we're going to take classic F1 machinery to it anyways.
We are indeed, Joe, and it is going to be a wild ride for these Lotus 79s. Watch for the main overtaking opportunities be going down the main straightaway into the Andretti hairpin, and then also potentially going into the fearsome corkscrew. But outside of there, watch for a lot of follow the leader around here with some increased speed because of the ground effects in these cars. The run really up the hill from turn 3 all the way to turn 6 is going to be medium speed corners in these incredibly quick Lotus 79s. You can also maybe see an attempt on down into that final curve of turn 11, but that one's going to be very, very tricky to get done.
Yeah, especially after coming through the right-hander of 10. I'm sure you'll have to be brave. But let's take a look at the championship situation. Partanen, with his most recent win, still is up at the front and has extended it over Tolanen, Freesia, and a Turk because none of them showed up last week. Instead, it's going to be Paul Williams, who still lost a ton and is nearly a full 100 points behind. So it's looking good here at this halfway point for Partanen. We also have the team's championship. And how's that, DJ?
Well, in that team's championship, it's a little bit tighter at the top with Marlboro Team McLaren leading the way by 10 points over Martini Racing Team Lotus. Very close behind them, only 2 points back as equipped Renault Elf, with Ligier Gitanes only 5 points behind them. So a very tight battle there for the top 4. But then we jump back about 15 or so points all the way back to Olympus Cameras Wolf Racing, who is 36 points back of your leader.
And then when we take a look at today's race details, it's not a long lap around here in these cars, 34. So they're going to be ticking them off pretty fast. And they've got an open setup as always in this series. I'm sure the setup will be pretty important today because you'll want to try and get as much downforce as you can while still retaining that speed down the front stretch. They've got no spare car if you get damage, and that's going to be easy to do at this track. They also have a drive-through penalty at 17 incidents with a disqualification at 25. So keep it on the black stuff and keep from overrunning those corners. In the qualifying, first timed lap between Old and Partanen goes to Partanen there with the provisional pole. Courtaniemi gets within 0.3 of a second. Looks like Xavier Sanchez, after racing the Lotus 49 earlier, is good enough for 5th now as Karthik Pai just jumps in front of him. The Texan looking somewhat quick today. Still need a lap from Ove Trangerade, who we see on screen here right now. Tends to be running up towards the front in the top 5. Not as often that you see him on the podium anymore because the competition has gotten so steep. Let's see if this track gives him any sort of advantage.
We'll have to see indeed. Joe Trangerade trying to bring that car around. This is that final hairpin corner. They're a little bit deceptively tight. You think you can take a lot more speed through than you actually can. Ove is going to cross over the line and put in a 110.
Only good enough for 8th for him, so not bad, but also not really anything to write home about. Still need Timothy Reed to set a time. He's had an interesting season so far with some decent results, and for a while was actually within the top 5 in the points. You can see he got shuffled out of that as Partanen goes even quicker, and that was a 109.559, so less than a tenth faster. Courtaniemi, unfortunately, is not able to improve on that lap. Freckleton, Dylan Freckleton, not typically someone that we talk about as a front runner, but he managed to go into 3rd.
That's a great lap there for Dylan Freckleton. He'll be very happy with that. Christophe Dubois also down there with a good lap as well. We currently watch Timothy Reed as he pilots his way down the hill and into that final corner.
I'm watching Pablo Suarez as well, and he comes up around the hairpin. He's only in 11th on his first lap as Reed, is going to spit it out up through turn 6. Good example of just how dangerous that corner is. Suarez improves to 10th that time by. Trangerade doesn't take his second lap, so his first lap will be the one he'll have to rely on. He's down to 11th already. In the meantime, coming around to finish up, here is the number 22 of Power, and he crosses the line to improve upon that 112.3. It goes to a 111.5. Big jump for him in time, but only up to 16th.
Yeah, only good enough for 16th there, so he is going to have to do it. We'll have to see what Javier Mosquera is able to get done here as he pilots his way around right now, climbing down the hill, going through that final corner.
In front of him, Pekka Kalahara missed his first lap and is trying to set an actual time. A 1:12.8 will do it and put him into 20th. Meanwhile, Mosquera, a 1:11.3. Nicely done by the 11 up to this point. So let's see, is anybody else able to take a time from here? I think, nope, Ove Trangrade's done with his. So yeah, that is it for our qualifying.
Well, and Joe, that just goes to show you a very, very quick lap around here. Like we said, still about 2 minutes left in the session, but a couple of drivers still out on track, just trying to get those last couple minutes of practice down to the best that they can.
So as the drivers practice on, let's take a quick moment to go through our starting grid here today. And on the pole of that, it is going to be Pauli Partanen with Topi Kortaniemi starting from second. Paul Williams in third with Dylan Freckleton in P4. Missing some big names here today, honestly. Christophe Dubois will be fifth and Timothy Reed in sixth. You've got Gwendolyn Old in seventh, Karthik Pai P8, and Xavier Sanchez ninth. Pablo Suarez will round out your top 10.
It's going to be Ove Trangrade lining up in 11th, followed by Nathan Finnegan in 12th, with Luca Bracali in 13th and Javier Mosquera in 14th. Nicholas Morelli will be in 15th, followed by Jermaine Suarez, with Kyle Reed and Seamus Power behind him in 18th. Keith Herner lines up 19th, and Tony Teolis rounds out your top 20, with Pekka Kalahara and Barry West rounding out the grid.
So a bit of a smaller grid here today, but that's because we had a split and it was only about 20 and some each. It's also very cool out here today, early in the morning in California at about 60 some degrees. Yeah, it's 66 Fahrenheit, 19 Celsius. So it might take a bit to get those tires up to temperature.
Yeah, and that's going to be something to watch out for. Remember, these are pretty durable tires, so I would anticipate them being fully up to temperature probably about 5 or 6 laps into the race. It will take a little while, Joe.
So, waiting for the rest of them to come out to the grid. Just about have all of them already. And this is going to be an important start with how difficult it is to overtake around this track. That qualifying was probably quite critical to a good finish here. So with Barry West not setting a time, he's got some hard work to do. It is also a punishing track though, so the drivers might find themselves gaining positions just from keeping it on the racing surface. And I think all we need is our pole sitter, Partanen, and Power back there in 18th. They get about 2 minutes to grid up, so they do have time. But Partanen certainly taking his sweet time on this one. Now he has plopped himself out there, but Seamus is still waiting in the number 22. Lowest rated iRating in this, and he's still at 23:20 for his. Tells you how steep the competition is at this track. If he's not careful, he's going to have to start from the pits. Nope, he is out there. All right, we are at round 6 for the Sunday Grand Prix Series. The engines rev, the lights come up, and the green flag is out. Who is going to be good off the line? Looks like Partanen is fantastic, while Kortaniemi struggles. Williams is going to try and overtake him before they even get to the first corner. Somebody didn't go in the background. Not sure who that was, but it looks like Paul Williams is going to get that second place away from Kortaniemi.
Yeah, that was a power move there from Paul Williams to be able to get that second place away. The rest of the field filtering their way through turn 3 right there. Looks like Seamus Power and Jermaine Suarez, both of the cars that had terrible starts at the back of the grid.
Yeah, I think it looks like Suarez got a little bit of a hit from Power as they try to take off, coming through turn 5 and up the hill into 6 now. This is where things get a little sketchy. Can everybody make it through this turn on cold tires and full tanks of fuel? So far, so good. We are through.
We are indeed a couple of looks going down into the world-famous corkscrew there, flying down the hill, that multiple story drop, all the cars, and we've got somebody around. I think that's Trangarade.
It was. He got hit by Brasali in the number 21. Amazingly, he did a full 360 and kept going. It was a light touch between them, so I think they managed to get away without too much damage as a little side-by-side through the corner between Morelli and Brasali. Luca falls to 13th with that one.
Yeah, indeed, and Ove is going to be all the way down in 16th there as your leaders work their way through the Andretti hairpin for the second time on this lap. Able to keep themselves going here. Parson really starting to get a little bit of an advantage, up to about 1.7 seconds between himself and Paul Williams.
Already has 3 wins in those first 5 rounds, about to make it 4 out of 6 if he can keep this up. This is impressive pace. Teolis has had a spin in the meantime in turn 3. I don't think he actually hit the wall, so I think he's going to be able to keep carrying on. Meanwhile, we follow our leaders as the battle for second place remains tight. Williams with Cortiniemi, Dubois, Freckleton, and Reed all in a train.
Yeah, running very close there. It looked like Cortiniemi was able to gain a little bit through the middle of the corkscrew, keeping up the pressure to the back here of Paul Williams. This is exactly what he needs to do. As we said, it's not an easy track to overtake on. He just needs to try to force a mistake here out of the driver that pipped him right at the start of the race.
Yeah, and that's got to be frustrating knowing how tough it is to try and get those passes done. Look at how close he is as Partonen sets the fastest lap of the race. He's going to take a look to the inside. He's aggressive, but unfortunately he's not able to get the track position. He'll actually carry on off the corner. This gives the inside to Williams into turn 3. Could get it over under here. This is going to be a savvy move from Cortiniemi. He gets the inside down through turn 4, and that forces Williams to give way.
That was a fantastic run there between the two, Joe. Absolutely incredible stuff. And it looks like Williams trying to fight back a little bit as they rise up the hill into turn 5, but not able to get the job done.
Cortiniemi says, hard to pass or not, I'm coming through, and just played his cards beautifully there. I think we've got an opportunity now. Let's take a look at the incident with Trangarade and Bracali there, as this was on lap 1. See, we've got it spooled up. Again, I am impressed with Ove. Car just sent it in too hot, completely around, and like nothing happened.
That's not the optimal line coming through the corner, but he made it look pretty there, Joe. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he definitely did a nice little pirouette. Unfortunately, it still lost him a lot of positions. So down to the first corner, Williams is not giving up on it. He is still all over the gearbox of Cortiniemi, but they're still bringing along Freckleton and Reed.
Yeah, indeed, they are. This battle here for P2 definitely continuing to just sort of fester here in the way that it's going. Cortiniemi having about the biggest gap out of any of them, 0.5 of a second right now. Freckleton trying to close in on the back of Williams, but I think he's driving with a little bit more in his rear view mirror, with Timothy Reed only about 0.2 of a second behind him.
So as they carry on, Partonen making good use of all this squabbling behind him. He's up to 3.4 seconds ahead, and look at the dust that they kick up. Always kind of a feature here in the sim as it gets very dirty, especially offline through that run down through the corkscrew. But now stretching away, Cortiniemi says, so long, I'm off to chase my fellow Finn.
Yeah, he is. He's already got that gap up to about 1 second here, really starting to pull away Paulie Partonen, setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:11.124. So Partonen, I think, may have seen that coming a little bit from Cortiniemi, and is just trying to head that off at the pass.
As they come out of the hairpin, Freckleton starting to see a little bit of a threat from the candy machine of the number 4 as we hop on board with Reed. Looking forward down through turn 4. Look at how fast these cars can take them. With these older machineries, just incredibly swift. Got a little bit of damage on the left front, it looks like, but we've heard from drivers before that doesn't affect it quite as greatly as the under tray damage.
Yeah, that's what you really have to watch out for. Remember, these wings are there not to create all of the downforce on the car. The majority of the downforce in these Lotus 79s being created by those Venturi tunnels underneath the car that are literally sucking the car into the track at higher speeds. So those wings, he may lose just a little bit. Oh, as we've got a car around there on the corkscrew.
Yep, I'm trying to figure out who that is. That is Dubois, so down to 16th. Unfortunately with that, I think he lost a couple positions. Didn't have any help. He just outbraked himself once again. Easy to do over that blind crest.
Yeah, very, very easy to do as the track actually does crest before you even get to the hill. There's a little bit of a drop right about when you want to start braking, and the car gets a little bit light as you're coming over there. And so if you're not perfectly on the brakes as that happens, it can really throw the car around for a spin going into the corkscrew.
So we come back to Freckleton yet again. He's caught back up to Williams after he lost a little touch. Timothy's still right with him as well. They've spread away from Karthik Pai, who currently runs in 6th. Oh, but a mistake from Reed. He goes wide off the corner, kicks up the dust. He is slow, and it's not slow enough that Pai is going to catch him before they hit the corkscrew. All of them plunge down the hill now and into Rainy Curve. Pai's also got some friends behind. That is Gwen Old.
Indeed it is, and Old trying to press the advantage here. We've got another car around. That's Nathan Finnegan spinning it through the corkscrew. That is the real area of contention here for this race, Joe.
Certainly Calamity Corner today, and I think this one was just getting a little bit too much dirt on his way out of the corner and spun it around. Partanen with another fastest lap of the race, just pulling farther and farther away from his rivals. And we've also had an issue with Tony Teolis off the final turn. He's going to get going. I think he didn't hit anything in the process. He just spun himself trying to make a pass on Suarez.
Yeah, indeed. So more and more drivers really falling afoul of limits around here. And that's one of the things. This track looks so deceptively easy, but the way the corners come at you, the fact that none of them are true, real 90-degree corners, everything has a little bit of an increasing or decreasing radius around the corners. They could really, really throw you off. We continue to focus here on this battle with Karthik Pai, Timothy Reed, and Gwendolyn Old.
Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge about this track is that every corner is so different from one another. You have to be on top of that car every time you approach a braking zone. Coming through the final turn, Reed, after dropping from Freckleton, doesn't seem able to recover all that quickly. I think we had another problem, and again at the corkscrew, this time Keith Herner, and another self-spin. At this rate, I wonder if we're going to wind up with a few drivers getting a drive-through penalty for incident limits.
We very well might, Joe, and I am a bit surprised to see that many drivers running afoul of the corkscrew. Whoa, that got a little bit hairy coming off of the final corner, though.
A good catch on that one, but that was Herner losing yet another position. Suarez is going to pick up one more. So after he had his issue off the start, Jamon is just one by one picking them off, and that puts him into 20th.
Indeed, working his way around now as this is Pablo Suarez trying to hold off Nicholas Morelli. Morelli's got a really good run climbing up the hill. Is he going to be brave enough to attempt something into the corkscrew? No, he's going to brake a little bit early there and keep it running down.
Chasing on Pablo Suarez now in the 16 as he has really done a great job both in the qualifying and the race itself. 16 on his iRating, and yet he qualified in 10th. He's up to 9th, dealing with a lot of pressure, though, from Morelli in that orange and black machine. He's got a good toe. He's going to have to make a real dive to try and make this stick, and he decides not to.
Yeah, I think here at this point, the option is to just kind of wait it out a little bit, see if you can maybe force a mistake out of the drivers in front of you as, whoa, we got a little bit of side-by-side.
And that is going to be between Sanchez and Old. Old defense coming down through turn 5. Long way around. Big bobble. He's given space. And Sanchez somehow gets around the outside. It is not often you see those passes at that corner, but it's not over. Here comes Gwen right back at Sanchez. Looking to try and fight. Up into the corkscrew. Sends it in deep. Can they hold it out? Wheel to wheel. No, they can't. They come together. They tangle. Sanchez keeps it pointed forward, but has to give up the spot.
Does indeed, just catching out a little bit worse there on that contact. I thought for a second they were going to be able to bang wheels and keep everything pointed the right direction, but just tangling wheels in there as they went around. But this race certainly not over for the two of them. The only thing they've got to watch out for is that's Nicholas Morelli and Pablo Suarez starting to close in behind.
Oh, and it sounds like a little bit farther down, Finnegan and Dubois have had an incident. I'm checking to see what happened here. Yeah, it looks like coming through turn 4, Dubois had a spin, and actually Finnegan did a great job avoiding it. We might want a replay of this because there wasn't actually contact between the pair. Nathan just had to get on the binders, coming to almost a complete halt to avoid being collected.
All right, so
there's Dubois.
This is coming out of 4. There he goes, on by.
We've had a lot of lucky escapes. This track usually bites when you have a mistake and you're in the wall with damage. Let's watch from Nathan's view. Wow. Wow. Cat-like reflexes. Fantastic stuff from Nathan. And he carries on in 15th because of that.
Indeed, that was very, very impressive from Finnegan, just being able to jump onto the binders, watching that car spin in front of you. That is very impressive.
So, may have lost a little bit of time, but at least he's still racing. Mosquera's the next one up the road. As up at the very front, we haven't seen much change. Partonen's still pulling away, but not as quickly as what we saw early now that Courtaniemi has been released. He has gotten a full 3 seconds ahead of the next cars back as we watch the battle down through the Andretti hairpin just behind Finnegan. That's Kalahara being chased by Dubois. Since Dubois didn't hit anything as well, he's also able to carry on, but he lost a lot more. Ooh, that was a little wide for Pekka. And in fact, that's going to slow him up enough that Christoph wants to try it, but unfortunately it's just not enough braking into turn 5.
And Joe, I'm taking a look there at the back of Christophe Dubois' machine, and he's got a little bit of hindrance. He's got a very minor bit of rear wing damage there. Yeah, you can see it there on your screen, so he's going to be fighting that, but it's not going to stop him from going around the outside and down into the corkscrew.
Wow. Great stuff from Dubois. And that is going to get him into 16th place. I wonder if he got it from hitting that curb that we saw the replay on. I'm double checking to see if that's where that damage came from, because he really plowed over that thing.
Yeah, it very well could have. You know, these cars very sensitive to those curb strikes. We saw earlier that little bit of left wing damage on, I believe it was Freckleton's machine, as they had it in I'm not sure when exactly the 10 could have picked it up, but that curb strike just to the rear of the car can definitely send that wing into that position.
Yeah, it was much earlier. It looks like this is on lap 3 when he spun it coming out of the Andretti hairpin and backed it into the wall. So he's had multiple incidents in this race and is still managing to run in 16th. In fact, it looks like we do have a replay on that if we want to take a look. I don't think we caught this one live.
Let's go back and see this here going down into the Andretti hairpin. Comes around. Oh, just gooses the throttle a little bit, and it was contact into the rear wall, so that was some actual contact into the rear wing just coming out of turn 2.
Would have been so much higher up if it weren't for that. He qualified 5th, mind you. Oh, and Seamus Power's off. Seamus Power is out in, guess where? The corkscrew again. The 22 managed to keep it out of the barriers. He'll get going, but he's down into 21st. So must be that this is top split that we're seeing so many manage to avoid worse damage in this race, although there is now severe damage on the nose of Power's 22 car. We come back up to the front of the fields, back to Freckleton yet again, and that bright yellow and green number 6. He's still sticking with Paul Williams, who cannot keep pace with Topi Courtaniemi. And then Reed, remember he fell off a little bit earlier? Well, he has gathered them back up.
Well, and remember, Joe, that as these cars continue to work their way around, fuel levels will burn off. The cars will get a little bit lighter, a little bit dancier, a little bit looser as they continue to go. And so that's only going to serve to help these drivers out and gain a little bit more speed as they keep going. So I think as we close in, getting near the halfway point of this race, it's just going to make these battles a little bit more electric.
Oh, Kyle Reed with, I think, a bit of an issue. Slow on the front stretch. I think this must have been a spin. This is going to make him incredibly vulnerable. And that is Mosquera, who works around the right-hand side, breaks a little bit deep. Nothing doing, though. He's going to have to try again later.
Yeah, indeed, he's going to have to go around again as they continue to try to file their way around here. A lot of single-file racing. This is, frankly, a lot of what I expected from this race. This is one of the great American racing circuits, but it is very, very tricky to try to overtake on.
We've seen a couple here today, but they've certainly had to get creative at times. Look at this battle continue, though, up the hill as Reed is struggling a little bit now. Mosquera keeps catching him off the corner exits. They're going to go by a lapped car. That's Suarez, who was in pit lane getting some damage repaired. He's back out to try and just salvage what he can from this point on. And how about Nathan Finnegan, who is caught up to this tail? So it's now become a three-car fight.
Indeed, Finnegan trying to close in a little bit more onto the back here. I think getting slowed down a little bit is Mosquera. Kyle Reed just blocking his momentum a little bit.
Ooh, a lot of wheel spin from Mosquera off of the hairpin. So that's not going to do him any good. As they fly down the front stretch. Finnegan sizing him up. He's looking to the inside. I was going to say, you're not nearly close enough there, Nate. So he's going to have to sit behind, but maybe just trying to show himself in the mirrors of Javier.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to see if he can maybe force a little bit of a mistake out of Mosquera, just make him drive in the rearview mirror. You know, we talked about the difficulty of this circuit, and this is particularly the area right about where he's coming into turn 5, turn 6, that area that if you're able to just kind of flash in the mirrors a little bit, try to distract, if you get off the apex ever so slightly, that's really a one-way ticket out into the grass and the dirt on the outside, and that may be a little bit what he's trying to do here.
Out to the grass? Where's the grass? Can you point that to me?
The proverbial grass.
Yeah, I get you. As Mosquera comes around and out of rainy curve, and Finnegan keeps chasing. They start to lose touch now with Reed into that final hairpin and onto the front stretch. In fact, Mosquera once again spinning up the rear tires. Nathan's got a much better shot now.
Indeed he does. He's going to tuck up and get what little drafts he can as he works his way towards the Andretti hairpin. Big move to the inside. Tries to get it, and I think he's got it done.
Nicely done there. So that's one for Nathan. Just trying to check and see. Korchnami lost a second last lap, and I don't see any major offs in there, so must have just had a little bit of a slip up. I'd have to get a little bit closer to really figure out what happened to him. It's about 8.5 seconds up to Partanen. Pauli has become the class of the field this season and is ready to get himself a victory. Oh, Kyle Reed is off. Kyle Reed coming up the hill towards turn 6, eventually finds an opening. But what put him there?
I gotta think that was a little bit of the pressure from behind that we were talking about, Joe. I think he just lost control of the car, ran a little bit wide potentially.
Let's take a look at the replay if we can spool that up. At the 14 car has lost it out of turn 5. Not uncommon here, but how did he get over to that right-hand side? Oh, looks like the curb did not agree with him as that sent that thing spinning.
No, it did not. Luckily, he was able to stay out of the wall there. And I don't think any major damage to the car. There may be a hair of under tray damage from going over the curbs in not exactly the right way, but shouldn't be too severe.
So back onto the track and rolling once again. Looking through on my timing screen to see what's going on throughout the field. Williams, Freckleton, and Reed are still kind of stuck in position. They haven't really been able to change all that much. So we see them come out of the final corner onto the front stretch. Oh, another mistake from Timothy Reed off the final corner. Pi says, thank you, I'll have my slice, and he is going to move himself into 5th.
Yeah, now the question here is going to be for Timothy Reed if he is able to recover and try to fight back on Karthik Pai. That's not exactly going to be the easiest pass. Karthik Pai's been running a very smooth and consistent race here as we've got another driver off. I think that's Keith Herner in the back.
First serious victim of turn 6, but he didn't hit the wall. I could have sworn we were going to see so many drivers wind up with damage in this race, and yet it's been all just spins off into the gravel as he has to give up another spot there. That is to Partonen. In fact, nope, that's not a spot. That's going to be a lapping car. He hit the inside curb pretty badly. He's honestly massively lucky. Turn 6 is so fast. Usually that thing chucks you right into the tires.
Yeah, indeed it does. And I agree with you, Joe. I'm a little bit surprised that we've seen as many spins as we have coming down through the corkscrew. I would have much more expected that to be coming through turn 6 and turn 5. Those are the real two danger zones that we normally see on this Laguna Seca circuit.
Watching our leader now. 8 seconds ahead of Kortaniemi. 1:11.2 last time by. 1:12.0 because Partonen's been dealing with a little bit of traffic. But he's built up this handy buffer, and that is going to come in handy in the fact that if he does lose time, he can afford it.
Yeah, indeed, he can. That buffer at about 8.6 seconds right now, as you can see under GSRC timing there on the left of your screen. A very healthy gap, and that will really help him just have some peace of mind. Oh, as we've got 2 cars off, that's Ove Trangarate and Bracali.
And unfortunately, that's related, as he was trying to make a pass on Bracali, and they came together. A little bit of net code, unfortunately, involved, but I think they were destined to hit, even if it wasn't for that. And that sent Ove into the tires. He's been not having the best day of his career here in the Lotus 79s. Let's take a look at it.
Coming down into the corner, Ove, and gives him plenty of space there. Oh, that was some pretty big net code, yeah.
Yeah, but definitely Bracali overshot the corner. Oh, and Bracali is off if we come back live through turn 6, but once again avoids damage and doesn't hit the tire barrier. He'll get back out on the circuit, but he falls down into 16th, and Trangarate winds up in 11th after all that.
Yeah, so Ove being a little bit of the tortoise versus the hare here, just putting in a calm and steady race after a couple of those slip-ups we saw him have earlier on. He's just able to pick up position by position, and he's right back to where he started, Joe, P11.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it a calm race for him, with being spun around through the corkscrew and then being shoved off the course. And, oh, we got another one off. Is that Herner? That's Herner.
Yeah, turn 6 claiming another victim there. Off to the inside. I wonder if he just caught a little bit of the inside gravel coming down through there, and that's what threw him around.
Back onto the track. Yeah, I would not be shocked if we saw a black flag at some point out here. Again, for those not familiar with iRacing, in official sessions such as this, 17 incidents, and you will be sent through pit lane with a drive-through for not keeping it clean. So we watch the battle between Reed and Pi. They're going to go on by Herner, who's going to stay out of the way. He doesn't want to interfere with this since he is so far down the order at this stage, and really just probably wanting to keep this clean until the finish. Here we go. Another battle into the hairpin. That's Old around the outside, Sanchez on the inside, and in spite of some damage on the front wing of Xavier, he is going to claim 7th.
Yeah, he's going to claim 7th to try to move his way forward. Just as we said earlier, that wing damage not as rough as it normally can be in other machines, able to continue on.
Don't need to go to it, but poor Tony Teolis had some contact with German Suarez through the corkscrew, both able to continue, but German, well, nope, they're not both able to continue. German has taken it into pit lane. Teolis has been a little bit riled up because of it. Oh, and what's happened to Reed?
It looks like he just lost it coming through the corkscrew. I think there may have been a little bit of contact there between himself and Karthik Pai, but I couldn't really tell, Joe. I just saw the smoke out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah, I think you're right. I went back and looked, and he spun himself out. Not sure if this is the cold temperatures or what, but this is the most spins I think I've ever seen in any of the Lotus 79 races we've covered.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and I think it's probably just a combination of the cold tires and a tricky circuit out here.
Big hit for someone there into the wall, 4 wide, and we somehow make it through. Somebody goes off, though. Trying to figure out who that was.
I think that was Kalahara.
You're right, that was Kalahara, and the contact that he had was with Bracali. So those two, unfortunately, the latest victims of the corkscrew. That started with Kalahara having a spin through there, tried to come back on, did not watch his relative box, and came back just in front of other rivals. Reed and West are the ones that make the daring escape. See, here's the hit. Ugh. And then here comes Reed and West. Woo, suck in.
Yeah, that is definitely a hold your breath and pray moment, splitting the difference there between those two wrecking cars.
Just enough to manage to dive through. So that's going to put West into 15th, Reed into 16th. Oh, and we got another problem. So that was Dubois again. Another spin for the 10 car. He's down to 13th because of that. Big losses for him.
Yeah, big losses there for him on the day. Just, I think for Christoph, that rear wing damage, that can definitely affect the car a little bit, as you need a little bit of that rear downforce to really plant the tires in. And with just as much torque as you have going through the rear wheels, it can be very, very tricky to be able to try to get the power down, and so very easy to spin the tires with not as much functional downforce on the rear wing.
Well, there's only so much jumping on the bed they can do before somebody falls off and hits their head. And we've lost Suarez, Kalahara, and Bracali. It looks like Luca might be able to get back out on track, but it's not looking likely at this stage because we're only 11 to go. Who will be the next victim? Might be Pablo Suarez, who just had a spin out of turn 6. This time touching the gravel on the outside, sent him across the track, kept it out of the wall.
Yeah, indeed, but able to keep it out of the wall there, crucially, so no more retirees. This being your closest battle, though, Suarez and Dubois. Dubois, with that rear wing damage, not looking like it's affecting his aggression here, as he is all over the back of Pablo.
Oh, yeah, he should be slightly out of position. Let's not forget, Suarez is only down 2, but Dubois is down 8. And he should at least be able to try and be on the attack from what we're witnessing here. The question is, can he get by? That seems to be the difficult part today as he follows him through. Oh, we got another one. That's the 3. So that was Xavier Sanchez up the hill, kicking up some dirt as he went way wide, coming off of turn 5. He only loses, I think, 1 position. Yeah, Gwen Old was able to overtake. Oh, no. And now it looks like Freckleton is going to find himself off the circuit. Took too much of the curb on the inside, and now he's right back with Reed, who he was fighting with before.
And everything old is new again. They are very, very close. There they go. They're going to be side by side in the Andretti hairpin.
Round the outside, Reed's still got some fervor in him. And he's going to carry on as they almost bang wheels off the corner, and is not going to let Freckleton have this spot. He wants that one after they had so many issues. Don't need to go to it. But Christophe Dubois had a miscommunication with Pablo Suarez out of turn 6. He wound up hitting the wall and has even worse damage on that 10 machine now.
Yeah, not exactly happy on the radio. He came over and voiced his displeasure a little bit. But Dubois just having a very, very tough day out at the track. And Joe, I've been in that position when you just have a day where nothing's going your way. It just seems like everything just comes up and keeps stacking up on each other.
And I know this probably looks a little bit silly to some of our viewers, but I want to reiterate, this is not that these guys lack skill. We're talking 5,000 and 4,000 for a lot of our top drivers out there right now in terms of iRating. This is just appearing to be an incredibly tough combo today for whatever reason. And it is highly unusual. for what we usually see in the Lotus 79. So this is not typical of this series if this is your first time joining us. And this is Partonen, who we're following right now in the McLaren liveried Lotus. Still at about 10 seconds ahead of Courtney. So why don't we see how it is done correctly for a moment after seeing how it's done wrong.
Exactly, and he is just absolutely on his own path here. Nobody has been able to touch Paulie all day long, and he continues to set the fastest laps of the race. Now, obviously, as we said, no tire changes here, no pit stops, so the fuel is going to continue to burn. The car is going to get lighter, and that's certainly going to help him out, but he is just absolutely on fire.
What's even more amazing is we're not seeing a lot of hard charges out of this. It's more victims than drivers that are able to take advantage. Really, the hardest charger is Barry West currently, who just went a lap down, being overtaken by Partonen. And he is up 8 positions, the only driver unable to set a time today. Otherwise, I see Karthik Pai up 4. Looks like Morelli is up 6, but most of the drivers have only gained 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah, not a lot of movement on the day. And Joe, that's not unexpected to me. Laguna Seca is not the easiest track to get a pass on. It really and truly, like I said at the beginning, you're only looking at about 3 braking zones really that are optimal for overtaking. Ooh, that got a little sketchy.
Morelli having an excursion off into the sand. He'll return, and he doesn't even lose a position. He's still sitting in 9th. In fact, he's far away from ahead and behind. Freckleton 8 seconds up the road. Trangrade 6 seconds behind him. All he has to do is keep it together for now.
Yeah, just needs to try to keep it together for the time being. I think Ove Trangrade's had an off in the back, though. Looks like that's a long one. Oh, big damage to the rear wing of Ove.
That's going to be our latest DNF. That is turn 6, being turn 6. Just backed it in there and really slammed the gearbox. So probably day done. Looks like we got a replay. And this is what we were expecting. This is why what we kept talking about. We figured we would see. Yeah, and snap oversteer did it.
Yeah, just a little bit of snap oversteer. You see, he never even got down to the apex for the corner, just tried to come in and had to actually catch the car on the outside of the track. And at that point, just ran out of black stuff to keep the tires on the road.
So it's not an attrition-filled race, but it's definitely a mistake-riddled race here today. And we head up to Sanchez after losing that spot to Gwen, trying to see if he can get it back. Timothy Reed, who has been on the cameras probably more than he would like, I think, at this point, for the wrong reasons, is still somehow in 7th, only 1 down from where he started this race. Man, could have been so much more for Timothy. All these drivers in front of him that also had problems. And the 4 car probably could have been close to a podium today.
Yeah, they certainly could have been, but it's coulda, woulda, shoulda here for all of them. Just mistakes, as you said, riddling this race and really scuppering the chances of some of these drivers. And I think that makes the performance here of Partonen, Courtney, and Williams, who we haven't given a whole lot of credit to here, but he runs around in that final podium position. Paul Williams has run a very clean, very consistent race, and that is exactly what you need to do in a mistake-prone race like this.
Absolutely. And it was Williams and Courtney that had that battle at the start. So really showing themselves to be quite skilled today. As we come into turn 5, and Reed is really pushing, takes a lot of curb, almost upset the car, it looked like for a moment. Doesn't lose too much on Sanchez.
No, it doesn't look like he loses too much there. He's not going to be close enough to really get an attack here into the corkscrew. Going to be able to hold that out a little bit longer. Tries to get it all nice and easy and together. You know, Joe, I was talking to a driver the other day talking about the corkscrew, and they said, you know, it looks absolutely fearsome, and it is as you drive through it. But once you figure it out and you just realize that it's a chicane, it takes some of the terror away of it. That if you just focus on running the line and ignore the elevation, that it's just like running a normal chicane on every other circuit. But that is obviously a lot easier said than done, because that drop is fearsome.
Sometimes we fear what we cannot see, and I have to say, you can't see a lot coming over that drop. So as he comes up close to the back of Olds, Olds might fear what he can see, as Sanchez is all over the back of the number 9. And it's closing in more and more, each of these compressing together, but we've got very few laps left, and great move coming out of turn 5. Incredible run from Sanchez. I don't think this is going to be enough, though.
I don't think it is either. It doesn't certainly look close enough there from Xavier. Try to see what he can do. Not going to be able to get it done through the corkscrew. Get another shot, though, coming down into that final corner if he can keep it together through Rainy Curve.
Drops back just a little bit. It's closer coming up the hill out of turn 5, and they are just right out to the edge of the circuit, clipping the dirt, kicking up that infamous dust around here at Laguna Seca. 4 laps to go now. In fact, make that more like 3.5. Partonen is a long ways ahead of this battle. And this is a big look from Sanchez. Tries to get down to the apex. He's given a little bit of space, but Gwen will rebuff him.
Well, Sanchez has got to watch that with Reed right behind him.
There goes Reed. Reed running into the gearbox of Sanchez, and that really ends that battle between those two.
Yeah, indeed it does, and that's some good news, frankly, for Sanchez, is that means he'll be able to just focus his eyes directly ahead and not have to worry about any attack from behind and just go all out here.
Yep, much easier to just be focused forward. Partonen, once again, the lighter fuel, helping him set fastest lap after fastest lap. Just untouched at the front of this field. Down through the corkscrew. Sanchez wants to get one more spot if he can demote Gwen in these final laps. Oh, look at how close he's getting now. Oh, though he is pushing the limits a little too hard.
Yeah, big snap there coming off the corner. 3 laps to go for these drivers at the line. Sanchez knows time is running out.
He accelerates towards the Andretti hairpin. Yeah, so 3 laps left to go for them, but Partonen's coming around for 2 to go here in a few seconds. Look at them coming up to turn 3. Little bit of a look from Xavier, just showing himself in the mirrors. The 9 does not flinch.
Yeah, no flinching at all. Old continues to just run the line around here. The number 9 doing a great job of not reacting defensively, not wasting time, just hitting the apexes that they need to hit.
So Gwen now flying up towards the corkscrew. Sanchez a little too far back for an attack into here. See, keeps hounding on Old, hoping to maybe elicit that desired mistake, that little bobble that opens the door. Oh, and Timothy Reed has spun it through the corkscrew again. He'll get it back rolling. Don't need a replay on that one. Let's stick with Old and Sanchez. Look at that, almost pushing Gwen through the corner.
So very close there between the 2 drivers. They come up over the crest of the hill. Only 2 laps to go. This is a good run from Sanchez.
No! Oh, into the back of Gwen, and Sanchez finds himself in the dirt. Old collects it, but how damaged is the car? Freckleton sneaks through. I think there might be some suspension damage because Xavier clips the right rear pretty hard there.
Yeah, and it looks like Gwendolyn Old there. That car is a tricycle right now. One car just kind of cocked up in the air. But yeah, just a misjudging of the braking zone there, trying to be super late on the binders and clipping right into the back of that right rear.
It was such a great fight up to there, and it wound up in disaster between them. A bit of a shame to see, especially after it was so fierce. Oh, and Gwen had to take a tow. The 9 is done today. That's our latest retiree after Dubois.
And you hate to see that for what was such a great battle out there for Gwendolyn Old. Still a little bit of a battle here between Sanchez and Reed, but I've got to think that there's some pretty heavy damage to Sanchez and that it'll be a little bit of a sitting duck here for Timothy Reed from behind.
Reed's going to take a look into the final turn, but nothing doing there. They are coming to the white flag, which you can see waving as Partonen's already passed that, and he is in the corkscrew currently. Could we get a pass? Coming down into the first corner, Sanchez is going to defend it. Reed's going to try and break later. He sends it in mighty deep. Almost has it around the outside. The fight continues, slips up a little bit on the exit, and now has it done. It's a good thing because we got to go to Partonen, who is out of the final corner. A 4th win out of 6 races for Pauli.
Absolutely electric stuff there for Pauli Partsinen. We're going to be walking away a very, very happy victor. There is Topi Kortaniemi, your second place car, putting a few other drivers a lap down. I believe that was Suarez.
Williams with something of a quiet third place after he had quite a good battle at the start with Kortaniemi. As for Reed, he did get by Sanchez and held on, but it's not over. He's got to finish it out. There you see him on screen through Rainy Curve. Sanchez almost looking like he's dropping a little bit, actually.
Yeah, I certainly think damage starting to affect that car a little bit. Coming through that final corner, Sanchez just doesn't have it.
That's going to wrap us up for now, but the broadcast is not over. We'll have the official results as well as driver interviews coming your way, so stick around.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to Laguna Seca. We just watched round 6 in the Sunday Grand Prix series, and up at the front, it was no contest. Partsinen pulled a gap on the first lap and never looked back. 11, almost 12 seconds between himself and the nearest other Finn, Topi Kortaniemi, who had to fight his way back into that second place. Even if he had not had to battle with Williams, I don't think he had the pace to challenge Pauli. Williams wound up third, and Karthik Pai up 4 spots. Nicely done for that fourth place. Freckleton wound up in 5th after being a little all over the place, along with Reed, even more all over the place, and finishing exactly where he started in 6th. Xavier Sanchez, I should clarify, in 7th, with Nick Borelli in 8th, and Finnegan, the last one on the lead lap, in 9th. Pablo Suarez was 10th.
Javier Mosquera came home in 11th, followed by Kyle Reed with Barry West and Tony Talios there in 14th. 15th was Keith Herney, the last driver only a single lap down, with Gwendolyn Old having to tow there at the end, officially counted as a DNF, 2 laps down. Seamus Power 2 laps down as well, and then we get into more of those DNFs. Dubois, Trangarade, Ricali, Kalahara, and Suarez.
And looks like we've got Pauli Partsinen ready to talk to us once again after collecting yet another victory here in this series. 4 out of 6, Pauli. It's looking like you're really starting to get this one down, and your 3rd win in a row. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels very, very good. Thank you.
So it looked like you had control of this race pretty much from the start, but I don't know how much you saw. There was a ton of spins and incidents behind you that we were covering. What made the difference for you? How did you manage to avoid that?
Yeah, I was taking very carefully every corner that I knew that were dangerous, so didn't want to risk my win there. And this is very hard track. No wonder there was a lot of spins this week, because this is very hard track with this car. So congrats to everybody who survived this shit.
And yeah, it looked difficult from our perspective as well. Heading off next round, you're going to have another one that's probably even more punishing, Montreal, where you can't afford to go over the limit there. How do you usually feel you do at that track?
Well, I haven't raced it much there, but I think it will be a very good track for this car. So hopefully it will be a pleasant surprise for me also.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you as you're halfway through the season, and you've won more than half the races so far, so it bodes well. Anybody you want to thank?
Well, thanks for you guys. Very good broadcasts as always, and I just want to say, Jukka, please come back. Nothing else. Thanks.
Yeah, we'd like to see him back as well. Apologies for the language there from Pauli. Obviously, still has the adrenaline flowing, but I think DJ has caught up with Topi Kortaniemi, our 2nd place finisher here.
I have indeed, Topi. A little bit of a battle there early on in the race, and then it looked like relatively smooth sailing, or at least as smooth as it can be around a tricky circuit like this.
I don't know. Pun. You can hear me, all right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love the circuit. There's no boring moments in it. It's just fun, fast corners. You get a nice little bit of lift off oversteer and just throttle away
Well, talk to me a little
from
bit.
it. And corkscrew is always fun.
It is indeed. Talk to me a little bit about those opening laps there, the battle you had with Paul Williams. How hard were you pushing ahead, and were you worried that that Paulie was going to really be able to run away from you there?
Yeah, I was thinking that I was seeing him disappear into the distance, and I don't know. I knew I had the pace. I was faster than Paul, but I wasn't expecting that easy a pass on a circuit like this. But it was a fun battle.
Well, looking ahead, we have another tricky circuit coming up for us, that in the form of Montreal. How do you like your chances there?
I have no idea. Haven't planned that far yet.
Well, we wish you luck there regardless, Topi, but anybody you'd like to thank for this second place here today?
Yeah, my teammates as Raccoon Racing for the setup guidance, and you guys, of course.
Well, we are more than happy to do it. That was Topi Kortsanemi, your second place finisher. And Joe, I believe you caught up with our third place finisher, Paul Williams.
Absolutely. Paul, I expect you knew coming in that it's going to be difficult to pass here. You made that fantastic start. Did you think to yourself after you got by Topi, yes, job one done?
Yeah, well, I knew that he'd be quick, to be honest with you. I don't think he's turned up in many of the practices and stuff this week, but I knew that he was going to be quick. I was fairly confident in my pace, but yeah, I really struggled in the opening laps. This was a high use track, so it was a really slippery track. So in the opening few stages, it was figuring out what you could get away with, and I really struggled in the corkscrew, which sort of set him up really for his pass.
And if I'm seeing correctly, I think this is your best finish so far this season. You talked about how tough it is. Do you consider this one of your strengths, though?
Not particularly. I mean, I really like the short tracks where you can practice, opposite to Nordschleife. But I've been putting a lot of work in this season to try and catch up to the guys at the front, and I've been making progress kind of up there in Hockenheim, then I had that problem with the blooming wheel cutting out. So I've been making progress, but it's just not quite come together, and sort of I did feel like here that I have sort of made a bit of a step. It's just a shame that there's not any more of the fast guys here this week, because I think I would have been in the mix, but it's hard to say without the likes of Yandi and Jukka Tolonen and everybody here. So yeah, definitely a step, and something that I was hoping to get a genuine podium. It's a genuine podium, but there's a lot of people out.
I mean, you can only race against the people that show up, so it takes some consolation, and you still got the results. Knowing that, though, does that give you encouragement that you could carry this sort of mental momentum into Canada next week?
Oh, I really don't like that track. Those curbs are a nightmare. But hopefully we can sort of take it to the rest of the guys that turn up and have a good one.
Well, we'll look out for you. Congratulations on a podium. Anybody you want to shout out to?
I want to shout out to Michael de Turk, great guy, does so much for the community. He's helped me, and he's unfortunately too ill to race this week. So I think on behalf of the whole community, we really wish him well, and hope that things can turn around for him at some point, because the guy really deserves a break. Thanks to Andy for giving me some sound advice around how to practice and apply myself this season, which has sort of really paid off. So thanks to him. And yeah, thanks to you guys. As always, great job.
Well, thank you very much. That was Paul Williams finishing third today. Maybe downplaying himself a little bit, but I think he did a fantastic job out there. We're going to wrap it up as we give a thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenv.com, and there's a link in the description below. Don't forget, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you won't miss a moment, because as we mentioned, the next race will be Montreal, Sunday, May 1st at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. However, we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out, mark them down on your calendar, because in just a few moments, we'll be heading off to Laguna Seca once again for the Vet Motorsports, once again at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.